This world is awash with cruelty and with beauty. Wave upon wave of human horror and overwhelming love. Just this week, we've been bowled over by devastation coming out of Rafah, unimaginable awfulness, and by the stunning results of a court case that will change the course of history in this nation. Still, we gather together on this sunny, early summer morning, carrying flowers for all our people and celebrating on this second day of Pride Month, rainbows adorning our chancel. We sing Sondheim and smell roses and lilies. There is beauty here. Poet Andrea Gibson was diagnosed with cancer a few years ago, and since then has been trying their best to explain how it changed their mental health for the better. Gibson writes, "I lived much of my life with chronic panic attacks and anxiety. I was an extreme hypochondriac, so much so that I refused to eat nuts on airplanes out of fear that I would suddenly develop a nut allergy and asphyxiate mid-flight. I once thought that I would have to suppress my emotions in order to relate to circumstances as bad as a cancer diagnosis without going mad. But I've learned that the opposite is true. It isn't about denying my feelings, but ceasing to resist them instead. The instant I fully accept one of life's waves, I shift away from worry and I open up to creativity and possibility. I used to be continuously sunk by the tiniest ripples when I was in the habit of telling myself that the waves of life were not supposed to be happening. It was the cancer diagnosis that opened Gibson up to the power and the beauty of right here, right now. The bad stuff, it was already happening. So Gibson didn't need to be afraid of it anymore. That allowed them to pay attention and to be present to this right here. The beauty and the love of the interdependent world that's living here and now in front of us. It should not take death or the threat of death to shake us out of the purgatory of the past or the worries of the future or the endless mind sucks of somewhere else. But sometimes that's what rattles the brain cage enough to bring us back to here and now. And yes, death does awaken us to the truth of how fragile and precious each of our lives are, but it's not just death that makes life precious, it's also temporality. Every precious thing is fleeting. This moment running through our fingers, the dewdrops hanging off the leaves of the magnolia tree, the sunlight glinting through these stained glass windows as the earth continues to turn on its axle. The flowers, the ones gathered here in our vases at the front of the room, so brief, so fragile, so precious. Every year, I revel in lilac season. I take walking lilac bush tours during the first few weeks of full bloom, sniffing as many lilac blooms as I can reach. A couple of weeks ago, I pulled over quickly to the side of the road when I noticed a long stream of lilac bushes. My beloved mentor, Jan, always had lilacs on the table through the season, and her memorial service a few weeks ago was at the height of lilac season. I went for a late night walk the night before her service, and even though I couldn't stay up enough for the surprise aurora borealis flare that night, I did say a prayer of thanks to a lilac bloom as I plucked it and took it back to sit in a makeshift chalice on the coffee table there where we were staying. It filled the room with the song of beauty. Lilacs, with their scent that makes me swoon, are heartbreakingly temporary. I want lilacs year-round. I want to always swim in a pool of lilacs. I want to be bathed in their smell and have it waft through my home and my heart. But they are not year-round, and that's part of the power of their season. I wouldn't be pulling the car over suddenly on the side of the road to get out and smell a beauty I was constantly surrounded by. Eric would not have driven 12 hours to see a solar eclipse that he could see every day. We wouldn't be as stunned by the power and the beauty of these glories if we didn't know how fleeting they are. Our lives are like that too. Each and every one of us is a precious, fleeting flame of life. And we don't always pay attention to our own burning red-orange petals because we live with them every day, 22 million minutes of them. Maybe babies remind us of it more easily as they grow from peanut to chubby cheeks to toddler to, whoa, walking, talking, thinking human. But it's true of all of us as we age, the bloom of our cheeks and the spray of our hair. We are precious, fleeting aliveness here and now in this moment, aware of great wins and terrible losses, but also aware of the fine, delicate lines of here and now. What are you grateful for right now? What power and beauty is bringing you hope and joy from the smallest pebble to the wheels of justice turning? If you've got a joy that you want to celebrate it, type in the chat if you're online right now, or if you're in the room, shout it out. What's your joy? Come on, shout in church. You can do better than that. Keep shouting. Music. There we go. Sleeping. Joy. 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 Here we are in community sharing the beauty of this moment together. This is where we are alive. This moment is where our life is. It's where our power is. We're all connected to one another, and all of that joy that you're bringing in and shouting out, it's affecting other people. We are interdependent with one another in the grief, but also in the beauty. And that means that we're not alone. Each of us is many, many different moments, many, many different hopes and joys and stages of life and time and flowers, and we are all gathered here in this one space, sharing the wisdom and the beauty of our lives with one another, strengthening each other and enlivening each other as we entangle in one much larger interdependent web of all being. Amen.